What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Future Knight Eric here with a very special video today. Today is my 400 subscriber. Yes, I know, huge milestone. 400 subscriber special. This will be a giveaway, an opening, and a review all in one of the new structure deck freezing chains. Before this video begins, however, I do want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor of today's video, Solarpop and Unplug Yourself. As per usual, their links and all their information with regards to them will be in the description below. They were kind enough to send me 2 of the freezing chain structure decks, but I decided that I would dig into my own pocket a little bit and grab a third. Reason being is they gave me 2, one to open and one to give away, and I decided that I would be giving away both, mainly because I've got some of the cards already inside through trades, and then I thought to myself, what's better than giving away 2 structure decks? Well, giving away 3. Obviously, it is very well known in the community that 3 structure decks once combined makes a pretty decent deck, and that can be said for this deck as well. Now, with regards to this opening, I have done quite a lot of research with regards to the older cards, the older Ice Barrier cards, which are quite infamous for not being, the most powerful, well, at least the main deck ones. The extra deck Ice Barrier monsters are insane. I think all of them, except one of the older ones, have been limited at some point, so that's just crazy to think. But yeah, the new monsters in these decks will be new to me and to you, so we'll be reading them, going through them, discussing them. I'll be potentially giving tips on how to build the 3 structure deck. I'll not be building it myself, obviously, as 2 will remain sealed. With regards to the giveaway, all you need to do is like, comment, and subscribe. So that's all you need to do. If you are based in South Africa, very easy. I will ship it to you either by courier or Postnet to Postnet. In your comments, I'd like to hear a little bit about your thoughts on the structure deck. The Ice Barriers are very well known for their art and how beautiful they are, and I think the new cards actually do give it a bit of a fighting chance, especially at the local level. So yeah, just let me know your thoughts of this structure deck in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and once again, thank you so much to everyone who's been here since the very beginning. 400 subscribers, yes, it's not it's not a million, but it does feel like that every 100 is closer and closer to my goal for this year, which is 1,000 subscribers. Once again, just huge shout out to Solarpop and Unplug Yourself for once again sponsoring us these 2 structure decks, so that I could open up on the channel and potentially get some of you interested in this awesome new structure deck. Cool. So as per the usual, we do have our trusty Stanley knife so that we are safe. I'm going to cut away now from the camera just to make sure I don't butcher this box. I want to keep everything as mince as possible, for whoever gets a hold of the decks after the giveaway. So from our opening, we have decided to open it up from the bottom. We have got our paper mat, not the greatest, but I know on the back it does show some of the combos and upcoming products that we will be potentially getting in the future. So there's just a quick look. If you'd like, you may pause on that. But you will be getting a hold of this in the giveaway. It just speaks about their infamous synchros and their main deck monsters. We've got a little bit of Phantom Rage there, Legendary Duelist, Blazing Vortex, and Rise of the Duelist. Very cool. This will be included. Obviously, there's 1 in each deck, so you will have access to 3. And then here we go. This is it. I'm liking how Konami is not putting so much paper and so much plastic into these. It's majority paper. Obviously we've got this plastic here over it, but I mean that's not the end of the world. It's just something that we have come to know, and it holds the cards all together quite nicely. So So let's see if I can get this open without massacring the cards inside. There we are. Alrighty. So obviously a lot of the newer cards will be on the front, the very, very front. Reason being is because they are the highlight of the deck. The older cards, I do know that the older cards were a very, very high rarity. Sometimes, secrets, ultras, and whatnot. So I know that it was quite difficult to get a hold of them in the past. But now you can get them in their lower rarities and potentially build the deck. So this is our first main deck monster that we have here, Revealer of the Ice Barrier. Definitely a new one, don't recognize the name. Let's give her a read. While you control another Ice Barrier monster, your opponent cannot tribute, summon. Full stop. Wow. You can only use each of the following effects of Revealer of the Ice Barrier once per turn. You can discard one card, special summon one Ice Barrier tuner from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except water monsters. It isn't a problem, most of them are water monsters to begin with. If you would discard or send a card from your hand to the graveyard to activate an Ice Barrier monster's effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead of one of those cards. So the Ice Barrier strategy focuses very much around discarding, drawing cards, returning cards to hand, getting cards in grave. It's very much a resource recursion type deck. That's the game that they play. It's very long-winded, and all of their monsters are sort of floodgatey. That's the purpose of them. So this card kind of helps with the hefty costs of discards and sends to grave, and it allows you to gain more advantage. That's very, very cool. Very, very powerful addition. Art is beautiful. I'm not sure if you can see on camera, but the ultra and how it flows with her, I guess you can say, magic. That is beautiful. Stunning card. Right, I believe another new Ice Barrier monster. This time we've got Speaker for the Ice Barriers. This is a younger looking Ice Barrier card. Let's give her a read. While you control another Ice Barrier monster, I'm picking up a theme. Defense position monsters your opponent controls cannot change their battle positions. Very similar to, I suppose, Baguska. You can only use each of the following effects or speak of the Ice Barriers once per turn. If you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Awesome. Only restriction being you need to control another one. If you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one Ice Barrier token, and that is a level 1 token. So that helps a little bit with their, I would say, synchro, mechanics, getting the tokens. Tokens have been very well known in Yu-Gi-Oh's past and present to help with synchro plays and even link plays. This is a level 4, which is always good, generic for XYZ summons, and just a free summon without any restrictions. A lot of the older Ice Barriers could also summon themselves out, but they did not allow for certain things afterwards. So summons of level 5s or higher, sometimes it would lock you into exactly Ice Barriers. I'm not sure if those terrible Ice Barrier cards will be in this structure deck. I'm hoping that they only put the good ones, but this seems very, very powerful for the deck's strategy. Next we have Zuijin of the Ice Barrier. That is a crazy looking card. Very, very interesting. So his effect reads as follows. You contribute this card, special summon one level 5 or higher Ice Barrier monster from your hand. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can target one level 3 or higher water monster you control. Reduce its level by exactly 2, and if you do, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect or join of the Ice Barrier once per turn. Seems quite strong. A lot of the Ice Barrier monsters are actually aquas, so reducing levels can help with XYZ plays to go into totally awesome potentially. Him being a level 2 is also pretty good, but he is a warrior, which means he cannot be used for totally. But they do have a lot of level 2s in their arsenal, so rank 2s, maybe Sky Cavalry, those are pretty strong rank 2s. There are quite a few strong rank 2s out there, so very interesting card. We've got another new Ice Barrier card here. This is Wins over the Ice Barrier. So, and this one reads as follow. Tribute any number of Ice Barrier monsters. Special summon from your deck that many level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monsters with the different names from each other. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your Ice Barrier monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. Add it to your hand. You can only use each effect of wins over the Ice Barrier once per turn. That seems very, very strong. The fact that you can tribute your Ice Barrier monsters and then summon various level 4 ones, and I mean the first 2 cards from our structure deck are level 4s, so you could potentially tuner these out and then you could do some really strong synchro plays or XYZ plays. So that's quite an interesting card. It's kind of like a I believe it's Soul Charge-esque effect, where you just flood the field, and then it's got that secondary effect in the following turn where you can target your Ice Barrier monster that is banished when your graveyard, add it to your hand. So a little bit of recursion as well, which is quite nice. Ooh, and now we've got one of the new big ones. So like I said, the synchro monsters from this archetype are very popular. Trishula being, I think Trishula's limited at the moment, as well as the lion looking one. So hopefully that's not the case with this 0 Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Hopefully this one can stay at 3. But let's read its effect and see if it'll potentially be problematic in the future. So we've got, when this card is synchro summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. Well, alright then. If the synchro summon card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon one Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, from your extra deck or graveyard. Its attack becomes 3/3. Then halve the attack of any face-up monsters your opponent controls. Also negate their effects. So it's almost like a skill drain that tuners out the OG Trish, buffs its attack. That's mad. You can only use the effect of Trishula 0 Dragon of the Ice Barrier once per turn. But the fact that on its summon, 3 cards your opponent controls doesn't target, and it doesn't only stipulate monsters. Wow, that is insane. I mean, its level is crazy. I think that's a level 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 11. So it's a level 11. So a bit hefty to get out. 1 tuner, 2 non-tuner monsters. The thing with this deck is it's not very good at tuning out level 9s, which is obviously the original Trish, but 11s, I could potentially see that happening quite easily, especially with new supports. This is insane. This is a very powerful card. I just want to quickly read one more time to see if this card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card. Okay, so you can't pop it yourself and get that crazy effect off, but it's still very powerful. A looming threat, I would say. Then, of course, this is one of the old school ones, DeLorean, Tiger King of the Ice Barrier. This card is currently limited because of random FTKs where you bounce cards to your hand to burn your opponents. It's kind of crazy. I'm pretty sure on this next ban list it's going to come back to 3. Those FTKs, with the current hand trap meta and the climate of the game, it's just not viable. But we'll quickly give him some screen time. Hopefully let that focus for any of you who want to just remind yourself what he does. We then have Brio. This card is insane. It's been slightly errated, to I believe be once per turn. Yeah, you can only use the effect of Bionic Dragon of the Ice Barrier once per turn. Originally it wasn't once per turn, so you could literally just bounce back an entire board. It was mad. So he was banned, and then I think he was limited, and now I believe he is unlimited. Gungno Dragon of the Ice Barrier. I'm not sure if this one's new. I myself have not seen this one, but for those that don't know, like myself, if it's not, let's give it a read, and then we can find out. Once per turn, you can discard up to 2 cards to the graveyard, then target the same number of cards your opponent's controls, destroy them. So just a little bit of removal. He is a level 7. Is he generic? 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner water monster. So he does require, a little bit of the water strategy, which actually isn't a problem. This could potentially be used in frogs, in Atlanteans, in mermaids, but that's quite an interesting card. Very beautiful looking card. Trish. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Beautiful, beautiful card. Reprints of this card are always welcome. Older copies do escalate price-wise, and this card is just insane. If you don't know what this card does, you can give it a read there, but you should know what this card does. It is wild. General Wayne of the Ice Barrier. I believe this is also a new card, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously not in the holo form, but definitely a new card. Let's give him a read. Spells and traps sent from the field to your opponent's graveyard are banished instead. You can only use each of the following effects of General Wayne of the Ice Barrier once per turn. If your opponent controls a monster and you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal special summoned, you can add one Ice Barrier spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. That is wild. And he's level 5, so he does require 1 tribute, but there's a lot of cards in the Ice Barrier strategy that tune out monsters quite quickly. So that's not really a huge issue. Very, very strong. Another theme of the Ice Barriers are, I think I said earlier, a lot of them are Floodgate-esque. So like Anti-Spell Fragrance, Macrocosmo, which is what he is for spells and traps. So interesting new card for the strategy. Hexa, Spirit of the Ice Barrier. This card is absolutely adorable. Also, I believe a new card, so we will give him a read. While you control another Ice Barrier monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack and defense. Cool, a little bit of a floodgate. During your main phase, you can send one level 3 or lower Ice Barrier monster from your deck to graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes the same as that monster's until the end of this turn. You can only use the effect of Hexa, Spirit of the Ice Barrier once per turn. So I believe in the UK it was ruled that you can send a level 1, and in the US you can't. It's a very iffy card, but at the same time, you're just trying to fuel your graveyard. So I do believe you can send a level 1. But aside from that, you can obviously use this card to do your synchro plays. It is a tuner, manipulate its level, get into your big synchro monsters. Blizzard, Defender of the Ice Barrier. This is an old card. Only printing prior to this was a secret. This card, if it's destroyed by battle, you draw a card. There are better cards, obviously, in Yu-Gi-Oh! That do the same thing, but the artwork is just stunning. Pyromancer of the Ice Barrier, strong level 2 aqua monster, like I said, for your totally awesome players. And this card is just, beefy level 2. Level 4 high monsters cannot declare an attack. So just again, another Floodgate-esque type monster. Then we've got Prior of the Ice Barrier. So this guy isn't great. He's known for being the most strange out of all of them. He locks you out of summoning level 5 or higher monsters, which doesn't make sense because all the synchros are higher than level 5, and all of them are your win cons. But it is a free body and it does allow for recursion. So I think it still has a place, at least 1-2 in the deck. Then we've got Defender of the Ice Barrier. This is just, once again, a strong level 3 tuner. While you control another Ice Barrier monster, your opponent control cannot declare an attack if their attack is greater than or equal to this card's defense. So just literally a defender for your Ice Barriers. Warlock of the Ice Barrier. This is your Floodgate-esque type 1. This is the anti-spell where when it's on field, your opponent has to set their spells and traps before activating them. Spellbreak of the Ice Barrier. Once per turn, you can send one Ice Barrier monster from your hand to graveyard. Yep, neither player can activate spell cards until the end of your next turn. Again, a Floodgate, as long as she remains on the field. So, also, more Floodgates. Strategist of the Ice Barrier. This is the one where you can discard a Ice Barrier monster from your hand to draw a card. Not cost, part of effect. Very, very cool card. I believe this is still staple at 3 just to get those Ice Barriers engraved, to do your recursion with your spells and your monsters. Dance Princess of the Ice Barrier. This card was decent when, battle traps were a thing, like Mirror Force and stuff like that. Right now, a lot of the traps that are being used either turn into monsters or are counter traps, so she isn't as great anymore. Dai Sojo of the Ice Barrier. He's a pretty cool card. Obviously, if this card is normal flip summoned, change it to defense position. Ice Barrier monsters you control cannot be destroyed by spell trap effects. General array of the Ice Barrier. This guy is one of the more powerful ones, I would say. When your opponent's monster's effect activated on the field resolves, they must discard one card or the effect is negated. Very, very interesting card. So if you can manage to loop cards out of their hand using Trishula, you can loop maybe 2-3 cards and then end on him. Your opponent has less cards in their hand, and if they try and attempt to activate anything, they have to discard cards. I kind of like the design of this card, but right now it's a little bit slow. Also, it's a level 6, so it does require tribute unless you can get to one of your spells or traps that tuner it out. But it is a very interesting card design. Then probably my favorite Ice Barrier card. If your opponent controls 4 or more cards than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand. Your opponent can only activate one spell or trap card each turn, which is insane, because what it means is it's kind of like a Cyber Dragon that's, it's a little bit stronger than Cyber Dragon. I mean, what decks nowadays don't end on 4 or more cards? You know what I'm saying? So to put her down and then, it restricts them. So say Eldritch, for instance, they set 4 pass, you can summon her out. Cool, they've got their 1 trap. So they can't chain 2, because if they chain the 1, the one that banishes on summon, if you have a Golden Lord, they can't chain the trap that gets the Golden Lord on field. So I think this card is actually insane. I was thinking about taking this just in random decks because it's also generic. You don't need other Ice Barrier cards. And she's a thick 2/2. So very, very interesting card. Definitely, it's one of the older cards, but I think probably the best, to be honest. General Gantala of the Ice Barrier. Once per turn during your end phase, you can target one of Ice Barrier monster in your graveyard except himself, special summon it. So this kind of works with their strategy of getting their cards in the graveyard. General Gunnard of the Ice Barrier. During your main phase, you can normal summon one Ice Barrier monster in addition to your normal summon. That's really, really good, but obviously because of his high level, you're not going to be getting him out that often. Gen X controller. I believe this is because he's a level 3 tuner. Gen X Undyne. I believe this summons the Gen X controller, if I'm not mistaken, or it adds it from deck to hand. And also, he's just a water level 3. Aqua Spirit, very, very welcomed reprint. This card was a quite expensive common at the time. Now it's a cheap common. Frog players rejoice. Dupe Frog and I believe, Ronin Toad finally got their reprints. Their commons and super rares from past OTSs or Astral Packs, I believe, were getting very, very expensive. Fishborg Launcher, just a generic tuner synchro to help with your synchros in water decks. Willing Glacier, the Elemental Lord, this helps with your hand looping. It did have a secret and a super printing. The super wasn't too expensive, but having it in the strategy is always good, especially because you'll be, looping cards with your Trishula. Silent Angler, just a good water monster, generic water monster. Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier, I believe this is a new card. Let's give it a read. When this card is activated, you can target one level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Monster Reborn. While you control 3 or more Ice Barrier monsters you control are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters. They were special summoned from the extra deck. You can only activate 1 Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier per turn. So continuous spell, once again a floodgate, a lot of protection for your monsters. They protect the castle type deck. You want to get your big monsters out, your floodgate monsters, and just protect them. Magic Triangle of the Ice Barrier. This is an older card. Reveal 3 Ice Barrier monsters with different names in your hand. Target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy their target, and if you do, special summon an Ice Barrier monster from your hand. So if you get your Ice Barriers in hand, it's a little bit of disruption and advantage. Medallion of the Ice Barrier. Oh wow, you're gonna just add an Ice Barrier from your deck to your hand. Awesome. Mirror of the Ice Barrier. During this turn, each time a card is banished from your hand, field, and or graveyard by your opponent's activated monster effect, apply the following effects based on where the cards were banished from. Hand, banish up to 2 random cards from your opponent's hand. Field, banish up to 2 cards your opponent controls. Graveyard, banish up to 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard. So this works with the whole hand looping idea that the deck can do. Very, very awesome card. Salvage, generic water support. Surface, generic water support. We're off there, generic level 1 support, great reprints. This card did have a common and a super in OTS, but having these floating around is always good. Point of the Red Lotus just had a reprint on OTS, but commons floating around once again. It keeps that price low. Also an insane card. Again, looking at your opponent's hand, ripping a card, helping that hand loop strategy. Fiendish Chain. I'm not going to talk about this. This should have been evenly matched or imperm or something decent. The TCG doesn't like to help the TCG players with their expensive cards. I mean, Fiendish Chain is a good card, but it should have been something else. Iceborne? Generic water support. Mind Drain, this is insane actually. I don't have a playset of these. Stopping effects in the hand, this ruins Virtual World. 3 of these, great tech, great side deck card. Heavy Storm Duster, much needed reprint, very good card for your trap decks. Crackdown, also great reprint, insane trap card. Then we've got Terror of Trishula. So this is a very new card. I've never seen this card before, so let's give her a read. Apply these effects in sequence, depending on the number of Ice Barrier Synchro monsters you control with different names, which is the strategy of the deck. 1. Banish 1 card your opponent controls. 2. Banish 1 card from your opponent's graveyard. 3. Banish 1 random card from your opponent's hand. You've seen a little bit of a theme with the bigger monsters, I'd say. When your opponent activates a card effect that targets an Ice Barrier Synchro monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Negate that effect. You can only use each effect of Terror of Trishula once per turn. So you can use both in one turn. Very, very interesting card. Protection from targeting effects and also aiding, the general strategy of the deck. And then that's pretty much the whole deck. Very, very interesting deck. I'm actually thoroughly surprised, especially by the new Synchro and the Trap, and obviously the newer Ice Barrier cards definitely help out the strategy where it was lacking before. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for 400 subscribers. The giveaway, please don't forget to enter. All you need to do is like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are on this deck. I would much prefer to go to a newer player, but then again, a veteran player getting a hold of this will allow them to build it, potentially boost its level, and compete with it. And if you've made it this far in the video, all I want you to do at the end of your comment is put a star. Just, like a little asterisk if you've made it this far. If you do that and you win the giveaway, I will throw in this Field Center Trishula. These go for about $50 to $60 at the moment. They're very hard to get a hold of. I have a playset of all the 3 different ones, which I'll be giving away at the end of my videos. So if you made it this far, please leave a star next to your comment, an asterisk, and if you win the giveaway, this will be included with the 3 decks. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you so much. And Solarpop and Unplug Yourself, I really, really appreciate the sponsorship, and I'm sure whoever wins these beautiful decks appreciates it as well. This is Future Knight, signing out.